I think the reason why it happens like that is because we don't have people among our midst who are championing it, who needs to keep reminding us that this is what is happening. You know, one thing about we Ghanaians, we are not inquisitive. We don't like to ask questions. We always want things to be at ease, even if it is wrong. You get me? We should be asking a lot of questions. The IGP, we should be asking him a lot of questions. By now, Parliament should call the IGP in a session and ask him a lot of questions, or the Minister of Interior, or the Minister of Defense. I can't tell which is which. But somebody needs to be held accountable, you know. And when we begin to ask, questions like this, then what annoys me is that people move the situation into an MPP NDC, dichotomy. I'm all right, okay. I'm all right, okay. All right,
okay. Hello, everyone. I hope you're good, and I hope Grace has been keeping you safe and sound all this while. This is your boy Agostino. A few of you know me as Plastic. Some of you also know me as Osoforasta, and many more know me as your favorite boy Kito. Tonight, we are in another session of conversations with Kito, and it's the enticing show on your favorite inspiring, motivating, purpose-driving, and world-changing Christian team podcast. It's Okay by Kodi-Kodi-Sio. So tonight, the conversation is going to be a bit interesting. We're going to be discussing the issue about missing people. Now, unless you are hiding under a rock, you notice that recently the conversation has been spiking about the rate at which people are disappearing from our streets and from our homes. Recently, just I think the past week or so, a popular person, someone who seems to be quite well known, got missing, and we could see her face plastered on almost every status and on almost every Facebook wall. I even shared it at some point because we all had to play a role in trying to get her found. Now, this issue is, of course, concerning. And so on today's conversation with Kito, we're going to be discussing this, my guest and myself. We're going to be looking into this. Now, tonight I'm being joined by a friend of mine. He and I run in various circles together. We've engaged on politics. We've engaged on a whole lot of other factors, faith, and all that. Most groups that you will find in him there, I am also there. So he's someone I'm quite conversant with. He happens to be the one who manages the ICGC worldwide social media account. If you followed some of my channels, you've probably seen him on The True Perspective with Agostino. He was one of the panel for, I think, the maiden episode of it. So he's not a new face. He's someone I know quite well. And tonight he's the guest here because he made an interesting post regarding this issue about missing people. And so tonight we're going to try and delve into that and then have a conversation on that and try to find solutions together. So once again, you're welcome. I hope you enjoyed the show. My guest tonight is Nene Odonkor. He is quite a popular figure for those of you who follow ICGC on most social media platforms and all that. You probably have heard of or have interacted at some point with Nene Odonkor. If you follow ICGC worldwide, definitely you've interacted with him. If you read Faith Culture, you've definitely interacted with Nene Odonkor. So tonight he's going to be my guest. Nene, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be on your program once again, and I hope we can have a very fruitful, discussion based on the topic at hand.
Thank you. So tonight on Conversations with Kito, like I mentioned, we're discussing the issue of missing people. Now, first of all, let me ask my guest, how was your day? I hope you've had an awesome day and you're ready to set the ball rolling.
It was just a quiet day, regular day, nothing too extraordinary.
Okay,
Yeah.
well noted. On conversations with Kito, I think I need to bring you up to speed. There's always a
Okay.
trivia question just to sort of be an icebreaker before we delve into the
Okay.
serious matters. Now, what we are going to
Okay.
discuss is quite serious, and at the end of
Okay.
the day, we need to treat it as such. But then there's this thing I saw on someone's status, which has some relevance to the topic at hand, and
Okay.
I wanted to use it as today's icebreaker and then get your
Okay.
thoughts. It's an interesting scenario that was painted. So it says your daughter has completed JHS and had grade 9 and got her admission to SHS, and you escorted her to the bus station and she entered. Then you left. On your way going home, you receive a call that the bus has gotten into an accident and no one survived. When you were making arrangements to go to the morgue to identify the body of your daughter, you receive a call from your daughter saying that, Daddy and Mommy, I was not in that bus that day. My boyfriend asked me to come and sleep over before going. So I'm with him now. Assuming you are the parent, what will you do to that boy and then to your daughter?
Yes. Well, obviously, I'll be relieved that she wasn't, harmed, you know. And I think the fact that you are relieved that she's not harmed might, you know, cool down your anger. Because obviously, obviously, we have to deal with that situation. Why did she go, to her boyfriend? I know what's the phrase, the term I want to use? Faith had it that even though what she was doing was wrong, it saved her life.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it will, I think what will happen is that it will make me have a conversation with her, and make me wonder why I didn't know she had a boyfriend or something of that sort. Perhaps if, maybe an accident didn't have happened, I might have been very angry and
You would have blown up.
yes, blown up. So I think with this one, I'll be more measured in my response, and then probably find out who this guy is and try to get to know him. Yes.
And the boy, what would you do to him as a father?
I'll try to find out, who he is, find out from my daughter, why she's interested in him. I'm not that type who believes in attacking the other person
Mm-hmm.
because you don't expect your daughter to. I mean, it's not like she was raped. She
Yeah,
went
she
to her
went there
boyfriend
voluntarily.
voluntarily. So I have to find out from her why she did that. And it will also make me wonder how my relationship is with my daughter that, such a thing she will not tell me, you know. My prayer is that when I have a daughter, she will be able to tell me things, even when she has crashes with other people. So um, it's I think the first situation about the fact that she's not dead is very, relieving, relieving. You know. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to gloss over, because I don't
The,
expect her to be
the
doing
act of
that.
deception.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
that means without any accident, you wouldn't even know that she's hiding somewhere. Something else would have
Yes,
happened and you wouldn't
yes,
even know.
yes, yes.
Okay, so if you're listening or watching us either on the podcast or on YouTube, this is the trivia question for today. You can also give your answers in the comment section so that we can see what your thoughts are. Do you agree with Nene on how he has actually analyzed it? I think he's been very diplomatic about it, but I would love to hear what you also have to say about it so that we judge on this. There's no right answer in my view because every parent will handle it in their own style and in their own way. But at least we get to see the fun answers that some of you will get to give us. So
Before you go, let me explain why I gave that answer. I have nieces and nephews in my house, right?
Yes.
And there were a few occasions where I got angry and I overreacted. And it gave me this guilty conscience, I'm a faith person, and I believe that God brings children into our life and we are supposed to treat them with respect. I'm not saying we shouldn't discipline them, but it shouldn't go to the point where your anger makes you react in certain ways that was. So I remember I did something to my niece and I felt very guilty. And I had to apologize to her. And I felt within my heart that God wasn't really happy with the way I responded to it. So I came to realize that handling situations like this, you have to be measured with your approach. It doesn't mean you don't show displeasure, you don't put your foot down, but you have to be mindful with how you go about it. Because at the end of the day, if you are the parent who is always like a strict, angry, and all that, your child you end up push your child away. You and I, like for example, people don't like Christianity because they have this perception that God is this wicked God who is punishing and killing people, left, right, center, which is far from the truth.
Of course.
So that's why I've opted to go through with that, approach.
Well, I don't think your answer is wrong or bad. I think it's a very valid answer, because at the end, the discipline must still be tempered with love, because even if you're going to discipline, you must discipline in love. Even God disciplines that because he loves us, and so there's love attached to it. So if yours is not coming from a place of love but of probably revenge because you feel deceived and all that, then definitely you might end up taking things a bit too far. So it's not a bad answer. It's actually a very good answer. But then I believe also that different people will come at it differently.
I understand that.
And so I'm waiting to see some of the comments that will come on that. With how it ties into our discussion for today. Now we have a situation where a couple of years back, this trend of missing people, where we are almost every week seeing a new poster of someone who's gone missing. We've had several issues. I think it was worse last year in 2020, but then people hadn't really taken notice of the fact that this was happening because there was a lot more happening. There was COVID, there was the political atmosphere and all that. So it was sort of lying underneath, and it was getting so bad. I remember last year I had to sit down with my family, and at some point, and we had a discussion about this. I have a big sister and some family in one part of Takrady. We engaged in a conversation about this one evening because we realized that people were getting missing and no one was really paying attention. I think the Tadi girls became an issue, became quite popular, but after that it died down a bit, and then it came up again. People were getting missing almost every week, but no one was really talking about it. So recently, because there's no major issue up there, now people are taking note again. Now, back then, there was an incident of someone going missing, and then they found the person in the boyfriend's house. It actually happened, where a young girl got missing, and then it came out, there was a lot of anguish, and then later on they find out that she's actually going to lodge at the boyfriend's house. So it ties in with this story of how your daughter tells you she's going to school, she ends up in another place. You think she's at school, so when the school tells you that she's not around, she's missing. It becomes a big uproar, and then you find out that she's actually lodging somewhere. And I believe that has also contributed even to the response that people give to some of these things, because sometimes most people think that the person has just gone somewhere and you don't know, and you think the person is missing. But we're going to come into that. So recently, with Rhoda's story coming out, which has become quite popular because her face is plastered almost everywhere, and with everyone asking for leads, the police asking for leads. Beyond her, other people have also been shared recently, where everyone is taking notes. There are discussions happening on various platforms. I saw you share a few things on it. First one that I saw was you talked about the fact that there's something sinister going on in the country and people are getting missing, and you were advising people to be security conscious, which I feel is what most people are talking about. Now, what do you think, first of all, is the contributing factor to this recent spike in these missing persons? Because starting from 2020 till now, this thing has been persistent and consistent in the fact that almost every week, at least 3 people are reported missing. And most of the time, we don't even get feedback whether they are found or not. Well, what do you think contributes to this trend? And why is it becoming a very worrisome issue?
Okay, I think, yesterday we had sort of a short discussion on it, and I did some Google searching. And I realized that the issue actually started from 2018. That was when the Tardy girls thing, sort of spiked. And
Yes.
I remember along that when it happened, that was when also some Canadians, I think Canadian girls, they got missing, and then within a few days they were found. And I think what really is, there are a number of factors that are, pushing this thing in our society. And I think largely it has to do with the economy. It has to do with the economy of the nation. Poverty is increasing, people don't have jobs and things like that. So they are resorting to all sorts of, crimes and things just to how do I call it, make ends meet or live. Another issue too is also wider, is the same thing boiled down to economics, but it has to do with how other African nations around us are also having it difficult with their economy. So you have a lot of foreigners, Africans, who are, pouring into the country. And usually when they come into our country, they come with all sorts of, bad habits. And I read an article that suggested that some of these things are because foreigners are, pouring into the country and things like that. Because I heard, I read one statistic that in Nigeria, 250 people get missing almost every 24 hours.
Wow.
In Nigeria is bad, very bad. What we are seeing in Ghana is, child's play in relation to, what is happening over there. And I kind of understand it because of their population size.
Yes,
and
yes,
the dynamics, they have so many tribes. They are the political.
They are also running a federal system, so someone can move across states and all that.
Yeah. So they have that issue. That's one main factor. And another issue has to do with the fact that, and this one is faith-based. I think people have lost their fear for God. I've come to the conclusion that we as a nation, we are not really a Christian nation, we are a religious nation. We go to church or we go to the mosque or we worship, but we don't follow the principles of Christ. Wow. If you're a Christian, we say we are a Christian. Yeah. Because if you're a Christian, you will not cheat. Corruption should not be a thing in our nation. Mm-hmm. But because these things in our nation, I've come to the conclusion that we are just a religious nation, and we just try to play, God and things like that. But I've come to, because if you look at the number of scandals that happen on a weekly basis, this minister has taken this person is sleeping with this thing, the president says this, one thing after the other. And so if you are, as a young person, you are coming up, you finish school and you don't have a job, petrol prices over the past, since the beginning of the year, almost every 2 weeks, the petrol prices are increasing. So life is not getting any easier. And so as a result of that, some people resort to, kidnapping people so that they can get a ransom. Or, in my opinion, people do it because of ritual killings. I saw a headline that a 15-year-old boy killed a woman or something on that sort. 15-year-old.
Where did he that issue in Kaswa? I think boys who killed another young boy. I think some young kids, and they killed another young boy. It became a media spectacle as well as usual in our country.
Yeah. So the thing is, we have a media that is pushing this sort of sakawa and things like that. And so, young children are just looking at it and think it's normal. Because what will come into a 15-year-old boy to kill his friend or to kill a woman, what will come into such a young person, 15-year-old. I mean, if it's 20, 25, I can understand that the person has seen the world. They understand what they are doing. But for a 15-year-old boy, that means 2 years into your teenage life, and you're already, killing, someone.
Because
So
they want money.
yeah, but how did it get into their head? Maybe you could talk about lack of training at home. The mere fact that, this generation that is coming, they spend a lot of time behind, tablet screens and things like that, which I'm not really against, but I think our generation that grew in the internet age, we don't know how to teach young people to be responsible with technology.
Of course.
I remember when we had our first compact computer. That was Windows 98. About my mom, she wasn't a computer guru or anything, but when it came, she sat down with me and my siblings and she said, you can go on the internet, you can send mail, you can chat, but don't watch porn, don't watch naked people and things. When we had our first TV, my mom would sit with us. We will be watching cartoons, or maybe we'll be watching a program, and then when people are kissing, then she will change the channel. And I can say, true to God, I know if somebody doesn't believe me, I understand. But if I'm watching a movie and I see people about to kiss, I just skip it, because I'm used to watching a movie without seeing those things. To me, it doesn't add anything to the story. You get me? So I think it boils down to training, home training. And so that's what you have, people, they learn the wrong thing. They think, oh, it's something that you can do. Everybody's doing it. And then you have people kidnapping people and then killing them for that. Another angle you can also take it is that politically, there's a lot of tension in this country. There's a lot of tension. And what the indicators to me was how the banking crisis was handled. I don't know if that one is, how do I say it, rampant in that. I suspect the ritual killing is the rampant one. I suspect that one, because I think we can divide it this way. If I hear that a foreigner is kidnapped, my suspicion is that they want a ransom. If a citizen of the country is kidnapped, my suspicion is that it's probably for ritual killings. Because, we have this thing in our culture. I don't know if it has died down or it is there, but people don't talk so much about it. That when the chief dies, they kill some people.
I know I think it might still be there in some quarters. I've heard of that, yes.
Yeah. So obviously, when a chief dies, people will be kidnapped and they'll be killed as a result of that. So I think, to sum it up, I think the economic state of the nation is a contributing factor. I think culture, or how society is, with the ritual killings, and then I think the third one has to do with there could be a political element, to it. So I think these are some of the contributing factors.
You've talked about how the media doesn't help in some of these because of some of the projections that are made, which is making even young kids sort of, they are desensitized when it comes to some of these things, and they don't have any fear in them when they are even committing some of these vices in terms of all this. Now, on the issue of kidnappings, before we come to why, what made me want us to have this conversation on the issue of missing people, I don't want to call it kidnappings because we have no solid evidence to know whether they are kidnappings or they are genuine. I don't know what else could contribute, but until the police or whichever authority comes to tell us that someone has actually been kidnapped, I don't think we can say so. But then on the issue of missing people, does the church have a role to play?
Oh yeah, the church has a role to play. We can play a role from the realm of the spirit and in the natural, because I remember if you read the book of Samuel, when God wanted to make Saul king, his donkeys got missing. And the Bible says that they went to look for a prophet to find out whether the donkeys, where are the donkeys? Mm-hmm. So my question is, if people who are under the Old Testament are going to see a prophet to let them find a donkey, this is not a human being, a donkey. And at the end of the day, the prophet was able to pinpoint that the donkeys have been found. I think we can also do it because I even remember one of our church members got missing. I don't know how far I don't want to speculate. I don't know how involved the church was. So we can have that angle. The second thing is, churches, we have a lot of numbers and we can gather information very easily. We can gather information very easily about it, maybe depending on the situation. If the person is a church member, I think that one will be very easy. We can find out from the family, what is going on. I know with working with also the police, maybe we can offer some financial support, because one of the reasons why the police are not able to handle this investigation is because of lack of funds. It's lack of funds. I actually spoke to a police officer and he explained, that one of the reasons they can't do certain things is because, first and foremost, he did say that their leaders are not helping them, and secondly, is lack of funds. So maybe the church can, help financially with the investigation, because you really need money to find people, find information and things like that. The third thing the church can do is to teach people how to value their security. I know we believe in faith that God will protect us, but I've read the Bible front, back, and center, and there were times when people had to take precautions. So, for example, when Nehemiah was building the walls of Jerusalem, the Bible said they prayed to God, but in one hand they had a sword. You get it. David was a warrior. He could have said, "Oh, okay, I serve the living God. I don't need to fight." So God will go and fight. But he had to actually fight. So we as church or believers, we also have to understand how the world is going, how we can be secured, and things like that. I think another thing, I don't want to jump into what the main reason why we are in this discussion, but I'll give a tidbit. The church can also create, a center where it will handle, missing people. I think we can do that. We are the salt and the light of the world, and the Bible says that when one sheep gets missing, Jesus, who is the shepherd, leaves the 99 to go look for that lost sheep. Now, I understand that scripture has to do with salvation, but we can apply it in literal sense. It means that Jesus values the soul of that person to go and look for that person. So if we hear that a church member is missing, or not even just a church member, somebody is missing, we as a church should try and reach out and see how we can help, how we can help, find that person. And it will be a form of evangelism. Now, when you come to this church or when you follow Christ, when your church member is missing, you can find, the church will help you find, your loved one. You get me? So the church can play an important role.
Okay. Still on discussing this. you've outlined some of the things that the church can do. And like we've also outlined, this issue has been persistent from around 2018, at least ever since it came up in the public limelight. We've known about these missing people almost every week, about 10 to 15 people getting missing. There are those that might not even come on Facebook and other platforms for us to see. They are missing, all right. Why hasn't the church taken any step? Because so far, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think I've heard of any of these initiatives you've just talked about being actually undertaken by any of the institutional churches we know. I know that maybe in the background, people are helping, like with even the sharing of posts, and most of the people I see these things on their walls and others are Christians. So I know people individually are taking care of these things. But why hasn't the institutions themselves probably taking certain steps to be at the forefront of this? Is it that we feel it's the security forces should be able to handle this and we should take the back seat? Is it a mindset issue? Is it a perception issue? Or what could be the reason that the church hasn't done any of the things you described at the moment?
Yeah, so I think apart from the fact that on a few occasions that I was told to share, church members who have gotten missing. I mean, to me, that's the closest thing as a church we've done as an organization. Maybe they are doing some things behind the scenes we are not aware of. But in terms of the initiatives that I talked about, I think it has to do with the fact that the church feels that it's the job of the security agencies. You get me? Mm-hmm. And so we are not supposed to do those, which I feel is a wrong mindset. And I think it's not even just the church. We as Ghanaians, I mean, if you hear that somebody is missing, how do we as a community rally behind the person? Yeah, we share the person's image and things like that, but we can go beyond it. You look to the West, like in America. Like, for example, if I have a family member who is missing, neighbors and family members will print the person with the contact details, then they'll go throughout the neighborhood and sharing flyers, or they'll try to find out where was the last person's known location. Then they go out, search parties are made and things like that. So I think we as a nation or as a church, we feel it's the job of the security people. So we are not really into it. I've not even heard a prayer topic on it. I don't think I've heard any prayer topic concerning people who are getting missing. And it's something that has been bothering me, that the church seems to live in isolation. It seems to live in isolation, especially over this past few years. I don't want to state a year because somebody will think I'm trying to be political, but I've noticed that the church is not really at the forefront on certain issues, And I always feel that, the church is not just there for us to pray and preach and things like that. We have to speak God's mind on any issue. That's why you and I, we read the Bible, because we know that the Bible has the answer for any issue that we face. So if you have a marital issue, it's in the Bible. If you have a business issue, it's in the Bible. If you have a health issue, it's in the Bible. You get me? So we should be able to speak on these things. And the mere fact that we are dealing with souls, I think the church needs to play an active role in that. Ghana community support, because to be very honest with you, in my opinion, I think the government to me, the government is not really serious about security the way I think it should be. They just do what they're supposed to do. But let me ask you a rhetorical question. Do you think that if you go missing in a foreign country, that your country will move heaven and earth to look for you? I personally don't think it
Yeah,
would, because look at
that's a question for the ages.
yeah, look at the way they handled the Canadian
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
women. I think
They
they were,
value their citizens.
yeah, they value their citizens, and they got the government of Ghana to put in resources, because I heard it was a SWAT, or the police,
Yeah, of course.
SWAT that handled it, and within a few days they were able to get them back. But when it has to do with citizens, the person who was even handling the case made a mess of it. So I don't think the government really values our security, as long as it doesn't affect the creme de la creme, those who have money. I mean, it doesn't make. I remember a friend, just a rabbit trail. We were at East Legon, the underbridge, Spintex Road, the underbridge.
Mm-hmm.
They recently, no, not recently, it's been there for I think a year or two or so. They did it. And with that route, it was made for cattle. So what happens is that because it became a major route, they had to expand it,
Mm-hmm.
and that route leads to East Legon. So you were saying that why didn't they do the same for the one that leads to Ashiama? Because more people go through that route than even here. And you said, because rich people live here. You get me? So if a lot of rich people were losing their kids, or their loved ones were getting kidnapped, you will see a swift response. You get me? And this is what will make somebody who is young, who feels that the system is not working, say, let me take the law into my own hands. And then it becomes an issue. So I basically think the church, going back to your question, I think they feel it's the duty of the police. So now, if they are doing something behind the scenes, I think it would be nice if we know. I mean, this is not something that it should be done in secret. We should know that, oh, these are some of the things we know. So it also helps church members to contribute more.
Yeah.
I don't like this behind the scenes. Behind everything is behind the scenes. It is the safety of people.
Suspicious atmosphere around even what you're doing, even if it has genuine intent.
Yeah, and no, and in this case, it gives the impression that the church is not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are doing something, but because they are doing it silently. So I don't know. I can't tell what reason why the church should do it silently. I mean, if you are creating a platform where people can find their loved ones, I don't know why you should do it, secretly.
I think this issue brings up a lot of societal and cultural questions that many of us have been deliberating over for a long time. It's indicative of our setting in terms of our attitudes and even our mindsets, because just as we might even talk about government is representative of the people, and how we behave is how they behave. And if let's say Rhoda's issue had not even come up, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have even taken note that people were getting missing every day. But because she's someone many know and it got viral, now people's minds have come to it. It happened when the Takrali girls were kidnapped. So there's always that one story that would become a bit sensational. Everyone's attention will come on it. But even then, after a week or two, it dies out. Because as a society,
I think to jump in, I think the reason why it happens like that is because we don't have people among our midst who are championing it, who needs to keep reminding us that this is what is happening. One thing about we Ghanaians, we are not inquisitive. We don't like to ask questions. We always want things to be at ease, even if it is wrong. You get me? We should be asking a lot of questions. The IGP, we should be asking him a lot of questions. By now, Parliament should call the IGP in a session and ask him a lot of questions, or the Minister of Interior. or the Minister of Defense. I can't tell which is which. But somebody needs to be held accountable, And when we begin to ask, questions like this, then what annoys me is that people move the situation into an MPP NDC, dichotomy. When it was under NDC,
of course,
it was
we politicize everything. So,
and to me, it's a very stupid way of, sorry to say, a very narrow way of always approaching issues. People's lives are being torn apart. And all you can think about is whether it was under MPP or under NDC. And we need to stop this mindset. So if you have people like media journalists, this is where we need journalists who really love the nation, who can champion this cause. There's this guy in America that I love so much, James O'Keefe. He's the founder of Project Veritas.
Yes.
And and the way he's fighting tech and media, I love it. And I always wish if I had, money or investors, I would do something like that in Ghana. Because there's a lot of things that is going on in this nation. I always say this, if Ghanaians get to know what their government do in secret, or what some of their leaders are doing in secret, this MPP, this NDC thing will stop. But because they don't know, so they just give their loyalty out without, thinking thoroughly about whether their leaders are there for their benefit. Like, for example, remember the issue about the whole deal we signed with the US military that they can have an installation, a base, whatever the technical term. Apparently, that deal was signed in 1992 or 1994, thereabout, Rollins time. So my question is, how come we didn't know all these years? And the next question you ask yourself, what else are they doing in secret
that we don't know about?
No, you get me. So we need people who champion the cause, and somebody who can, keep reminding us this person has gone missing. We've not found her yet. We need to do that.
So that means we need people who dedicate themselves to always creating the awareness and sensitizing the people. But as a people, I believe we also need to probably take an intrinsic look at ourselves and how we view things. I think the example you gave about how in the Western cultures, sometimes people will print out things, go around, there'll be search parties. There's that community spirit. And I'm driving this into why we are having tonight's conversation in the first place. Ghana used to be a country that had this community spirit where neighbors cared about each other. I remember I've written a piece about how we used to celebrate Christmas as kids, even here in Ghana, and it used to be so much fun. I remember as a child, my neighbors would cook. There were presents. My mom is buying presents for the entire neighborhood. My neighbors are doing the same. All the neighbors are doing the same. So at the end of the day, you come to my house at Christmas, our hall is full of hampers and presents. People are cooking and bringing. We are also doing it and sending it elsewhere. They'll be baking cakes. And there was that sense of community where everyone cared about the other party. Everyone was engaged with the other party. There was that community spirit. There was that oneness. So at the end of the day, when something was going amiss, it was very easy to address because this is a community which was knit together. Along the line, we've lost that because now Christmas is everyone for themselves. And I'm using Christmas just as an example. It's everyone for themselves. No one cares about what their neighbor needs or that. Because I remember back then, there were people who were single. Like I had uncles and aunties who were not married then. And during the holidays, nowadays, that's when these people, they struggle because no one provides for you. You have to care for yourself. Some of them can't even fend for themselves because of economic challenges and all that. But back then, there could be so much abundance that I will have my uncles come around. They'll come and get food because there's enough to go around so that the household can't even eat it. We'll have to dash it out. So people come And then that's when the people we know who are less privileged and all that, who are struggling, you find my mom gathering some of the stuff. She'll go and donate it to them and then wish them Merry Christmas with that. We used to have this thing. Along the line, we've lost it. And that sense of community, that sense of oneness is gone. And so now no one really cares about the neighbor unless whatever is affecting the neighbor has the likelihood of affecting them too. We don't seem to be bothered if something is happening to the next party or if someone is even killed. Now we are even passing, you see someone holding a gun on someone and we mind our own business and we go. And I believe losing this has also contributed to the fact that the bad nuts in society have taken advantage of this big loophole that has been created, because now the fabric of society is such that everyone cares about themselves. Everyone cares about their immediate family. They don't care about the next party. They don't care about the next group. So it's easy to be attacked in such a setup. It's easy to be taken advantage of in such a setup. I know that the same issues we've talked about could contribute to why we've lost some of these things that used to make us such a very tight-knit community as a nation, because the entire nation was together then. We can talk about the economic situation, we can talk about corruption, we can talk about a whole lot of things. Is it time that we bring this back? Because your post, which has brought about this entire conversation, was about the question of, can we as citizens set up our own task force to handle missing people? Whereas it's a question that you can easily overlook. For some reason, when I saw it, I thought deeper than perhaps what most people would interpret it to be. I felt like creating a task force is just something like bringing back that community spirit, where people now are conscious of the fact that we are one, we need to protect each other, we need to be there for each other in times of crisis, and then we need to make sure that the bad nuts in society are not getting the advantage over us as a pack. Now, first of all, there's the legal aspect that we need to look into. So I'll let you talk about all that. And then there's the societal aspect, the morality aspect or the societal aspect of it, where it's just a good thing to be done. Now, your question, I know people have commented. Maybe after your presentation, I'll go through some of the comments that people made to your post, and then we can maybe even analyze them. But you can see that this is something that looks like should be looked further into. That as a nation, can we consider citizen task force? Now, first of all, I'll let you delve into the legalities and all that, because I'm sure you've had some conversations on that probably with people and you found out how it should be. I think one of the comments I saw in your post was unconstitutional. Someone commented unconstitutional under it. But to
be very honest with you, I'm still really wrapping my mind around it, but I don't feel it depends on how we set it up. You get me? So, for example, we can have a task force that is community-led. That means at the municipal level, we have a center where that handles missing people, where you can send information and things like that. So that center will liaise with the security organizations, certain agencies, certain the police and military police and whatever. Then the second option is through private enterprise or NGO. So somebody sets up an NGO that handles missing people. I saw one in America. They have various, NGOs that handle human trafficking. Okay, you get me? Okay. And they work hand in hand with
the security agencies and the federal security systems. Yeah.
Now, the part where I'm thinking about the legal loop bottlenecks could be if this private enterprise decides to have its own, should I say, officers, people who actually go around searching for the people. I was thinking of it in the form of like a bounty hunter. So in America, they have what they call bounty hunters. That means if somebody is supposed to pay a bond, or they were supposed to appear, or there's a warrant for their arrest. They have citizens who call themselves bounty hunters. So that means if you arrest this person, you are given. So they are given some legal freedom to arrest the person and things. But what they can't do is to, I think, kill them or something like that. So they are supposed to arrest and bring them. So if you watch American politics, maybe you hear the term citizens arrest. So a citizen can arrest even a senator, or if you have the legal right to do so, maybe because the person flouted the law. So I think in Ghana, what that may be the issue, because one of my friends was saying that maybe the state doesn't want an issue where people have formed their own, in quotes, army that will overthrow
militias and all that.
Yes. But I was looking at it also. You can also look at it from a point of view as a local detectives. We are just going around looking for the person, and I don't feel that maybe if I'm going around looking for my loved one, do I need to ask the state
Security
permission?
agency. Yeah.
No, I don't need to. I'm going to look. So maybe we can play it along those lines, or we can do both. We can have it at the municipal level where we have a center that handles, missing people, and then we liaise with the security agencies. Then we have people who set up their own private, enterprise or NGO, and that's I know if you are setting up an NGO, you are supposed to register it. So there's some, and I think these security agencies these companies that offer security services, yeah, I think if you work along those lines, I think it's feasible. It's feasible. But the main idea behind it is to be able to get information as quickly as possible.
Okay.
That's the most important thing, because the longer the person is missing, the likelihood that the person may be killed. So if we can get information as quickly as possible, and in this age where everybody's phone has a camera and things like that, we can train people how to be proactive. The task force for handling missing people is not just to look out for people who get missing, but to train people how to handle their personal security so that they are not, they are not kidnapped. I remember reading a tweet where somebody was saying that especially women shouldn't be posting their jogging routes. I don't know why people do that thing. Why do you share your jogging route? People need to know when to share which type of information they are sharing, So I think we can look at it from a holistic point of view. And I think this is something that, honestly, I didn't think too deeply about it when I shared, but I just thought if we can have a conversation on handling our own security. And my political view is this: I want the government as much as possible out of my life. What that means is that I should be able to handle my own security, my own education, my own this thing. I don't believe in government interventions. And yeah, there are certain areas where government has to intervene. But we as citizens, we should be able to handle a lot of things. Because when we do that, it helps us in the long run. We have less taxes, economy grows, citizens are self-sufficient. So it was based on that political philosophy. I was thinking, okay, our loved ones are getting missing, and it doesn't seem like security agencies are able to handle it. Why do we need to wait for them? Why don't we set up our own task force? Maybe the way I said task force, maybe we can find a more friendly term to use, and then find our own loved ones. Because today is somebody else. Tomorrow it could be you, And so we don't have to wait for it to be you before you take the situation serious. We have to find a solution to it, and then be proactive about it. and then make the necessary demands. For example, street lights can help with the situation. If we have street lights, it makes it difficult for crime, to go on, because crime usually is done in darkness. You see our streets. I'm in Teshinugwa Estate. A large portion of our roads are dark. And so if you are walking in the dark, somebody can kidnap you. So I think these are some of the ideas that I have over there. Obviously, there are people who are into these things who probably can,
develop it better.
But I told myself that this thing, you need cash, especially if you want to run it as an NGO. Oh, you really need cash.
Of course, you need,
because you need to
investors.
Yeah, data center. You need to have your own security apparatus. You need to train people. You need to have your own forensic team and things like that. It's a whole lot of money.
I think one idea could be the Project Veritas method, because they are funded by the public. They make appeals and the public donates. But I have a follow-up. You see, in Ghana currently, in my perspective, or in the reality, it's actually the reality. There are two Ghanas. There's the Ghana we see on social media, and there's the Ghana we see in reality in our communities.
Okay, explain the difference.
So, you see, this missing people issue, it's largely almost always on social media. You'll be surprised, you go to your community or you go to normal people you meet every day, and they've not even heard about it, unless maybe it goes viral and then media agencies pick up on it, and then they also start talking about it. That's when they get to hear those ones. So the Takrady girls will hear the recent one about Madam Rhoda, you might hear, but then there are many others that you might even mention and then no one knows about. The Kaswa issue went viral, you would hear. So there's a world where many of the younger people who happen to be technology conversant are on social media. They are aware of these things. The discussions go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on these platforms, in WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups. They have the discussion. But then the translation on the ground, where we have most of the elder generation who actually are pivotal and are also very necessary in the success of whatever initiative that needs to be carried out, they are mostly out of the loop about most of these things. And if something like a community task force or a citizenry task force is going to work, there needs to be a way to bridge this gap, because if you're going to have people who have information, a market woman will probably have more information than a guy sitting in an office in maybe Kanda or another place, because these people are on the ground. They are the carpenters, they are the masons, they interact more or less with these setups that we need in order to get the information that we need. We happen not to be in a Western setting where these blue-collar jobs are given that pedigree and that respect. In our part of the world, most of the people practicing these blue-collar tend to be on the lower spectrum of the economy. And so they are not conversant with most of these things that, for us, the younger generation, we take for granted. For something like this to work, how do we bridge that gap? Because I feel until that gap is bridged, we might do a lot of talking as it usually happens, but then the translation on the ground in reality, because these people don't actually appreciate how deep the issue is. Because our mothers might hear that, oh, someone is missing today, but to them it's something which happens once in the blue moon. They don't actually get to know the quantum or the high numbers that are going missing, because they are not on social media. There are people who might even be technologically savvy and they don't come on social media, so they don't get to access these news. And we don't have the media picking up on each and every one of them. They pick up on the ones which go viral and are sensational enough to talk about. So for something like this to work, there should be that bridge. How do we do that? Because we need to get these masses, they are the majority, whether we like to think it or not. They are the majority. How do we get them on board?
Yeah, I think it piggybacks to the question you asked, how does the church get involved? I think that we have to start having conversations beyond our phones. I like how you said you and your family had a discussion on it. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to have a discussion, especially not just this issue, on the many issues that happen in this country. We need to have conversations with our family members, especially those who are in the village and not in the city, so that we also get their view about how the country is and all those things. And so if we have conversations amongst ourselves, not just on social media, with our parents, with our uncles and aunties, we give them our perspective. We also ask them what they are thinking. That is how things, is going to change. Because I don't think we really have conversations as a community. For example, in America, they have town hall meetings where even the MP or even the president will meet with citizens directly, where they can ask him questions. This one, it's not the media who is asking, it's citizens who are asking.
Yeah.
I don't think we do a lot of that. We don't talk in this nation. We don't have a conversation in this nation. The only time there's even a conversation is during election time. And even that conversation is to make fun of each other. You get me? It's not to talk about the serious issues that are affecting us. Why is it that my friend supports party A? What are his views? Why does he believe? And then you have a discussion. And I'm sure if you have a discussion with your friend who is on the opposite side, you realize that there are a lot of things you have in common. It's just that there are certain ideas, maybe you have a different say on that one, and that's normal, and it's supposed to happen. But not until we as a nation, we have conversations, because we are not in the West where everybody is technologically savvy. They know WhatsApp, iMessage, old people are on it. Those things are normal to them. We are in a society where the younger generation know it, the older generation don't know. Now, for example, my mom is very conversant with YouTube because she took the time to learn it. She will ask us, how do I do this? How do I do that? She will make you teach her, And I remember her passing the comments that her colleagues or her age mates, they don't have the incentive to learn because they think it's too
there.
Yeah, they think it's too complicated. But my mom is an example that, you may not know everything, but the basics, you can get it. You get me? So we have to have a conversation. We have to have a conversation in the church, especially. How do we grow as a nation? How can we solve our problems? Yes, I know we have sermons and things like that, but we need to have lead the church and have community dialogues and bring different stakeholders and things like that. Encourage church members to have the conversations with their own family members as well, so that we can put some of these ideas down, because some of the ideas we see on social media, they are very brilliant. But when it comes to implementing it, it's a problem. Why? Because the problems we are trying to solve, they are at a national level. And because they are at a national level, we need everybody who is a part of the nation to somehow get involved. Now, if it's a family problem, you and your mother, your father, your siblings, we get together, we trash it out, and then we solve it. You get it? But once you are talking about national issues, unless you are the person who is in power or you have some form of clout where you can, push agendas and things like that, it's going to be very, very, very difficult. So we need to wake our people up. We need to open their eyes. I remember.
Now, back to the issue at hand.
Okay.
We have this whole issue, and it's a national issue which has impact in terms of how safe people feel, because now a lot of ladies, even with Uber and Taxify and all those things, they don't feel safe. There are people who are saying now they will share the driver's number and picture and everything with almost everyone in their contact list. So there's this whole fear now within the society. What you are suggesting about maybe forming this community task force where they are not taking the place of the security agencies, but then they are helping in terms of access to information, in terms of reaching the ground roots to know, okay, this was the last known location of this person. We can then do maybe a coverage of that area, help the security agencies access where did this person go from here, who did that sort of thing. It comes into support. Now, having that understanding, how do we get people out there to sort of be aware that this initiative could actually be a good thing, and this initiative is something that we all should come on board and probably support, so that if we are building this, we are first of all gaining back our community spirit, and then we are also making our neighborhoods and our communities safer. How do we get people to buy into this idea, to develop it further, and then to find the best way to carry it out, especially people who might not be on social media and all that?
Yeah, I think my first answer will be, it wouldn't be nice, but I don't believe in being politically correct. I think fear can be a driving force. You were saying that ladies are afraid that when they sit in Uber, Taxify, they will share their,
the
details with their contacts and things. So why are they taking that step? It's because of fear. So fear is actually pushing people to be more proactive about their security. So if we can get people and make them understand the seriousness of their own security, why they ought to take the precautions they need to take, it will also make it easier for them to understand that in order for us to be truly safe, we need to work together as a community. You need to know what is happening with your neighbor and things like that, and be very observant, a bit nosy. I know we're supposed to mind our own business, but at least just keep an eye on like sometimes when I'm walking through town and I see a lady, walking, alone. For the brief moments that I'm passing by her, I'm just keeping an eye on her. Once a while, if I see some of them playing with their phone, I'll comment that, please, it's not safe and things like that. You get me? Mm-hmm. So it starts with having conversations with people and letting them know that something like this can work. For all you know, I put it there, very few people commented about it. I'm sure they would think, okay, just Nene who is ranting about, issues that are being faced with. But we need to have, conversations and let people understand that, in order for us to solve this missing people crisis, we need to value our security on a personal level. I don't like this whole idea that the police are supposed to do this, the police or the security agent. Yes, they are there to provide security and safety, but it's your life. When you are dead, then God will bury you and the nation will go on. So in order for you to survive, you need to take, security in your hands. I think I need to check on this. I don't know I think you can have your own gun. You
need to register with the police. Yeah. There are processes you need to go through to acquire. And
then maybe we have to teach people how to handle a gun and things like that.
Our laws are a bit strict on gun ownership.
So, it doesn't matter. Yeah. If I understand that it has to be strict because you don't want the wrong people to have guns. But even that aside, I remember last year I heard a conversation by one of the security experts, and you were saying there's a lot of illegal guns in the country.
Yeah, but blacksmiths make them all the time.
Yes, and one example he gave was that even some of these security agencies are part of it. They give these guns to these armed robbers and things. He said in one case, I think they have confiscated some of the guns. And I think, this whole corruption thing, it ended up in one of these armed robbers. And in a case that they were working on, they realized that they had the gun, but it went out. So you see, at the end of the day, the security agencies who are supposed to provide security for citizens are corrupt themselves. Not all of them, but we have a lot of bad nuts among them. So that's why I don't believe that you should put your hopes and your personal responsibility towards your own safety on the government. We should be able to take it. So if you feel you can jump the hoops in acquiring a gun, I don't have any qualms about it, because with the way the nation is going, time will come, people will feel that I think I need to own a gun in order to, keep myself safe. I'm sure you heard of stories where people were attacked by armed robbers or thieves, and they called the police, and the police delayed in coming.
That's if they even show up.
You see, so we can't rely on them. So I believe that we have to, as a nation, be sensitive about our personal security. When you are going somewhere, let someone know. If, for example, you're going maybe to your boyfriend's place, but you don't want your parents to know, at least let one of your siblings know.
Or a friend, a close friend.
Or a friend, should know. You get me? And then, so that at least if we realize that something is happening, that friend can provide that information. He or she said, yes, she said she was going to location A, but she ended up at location B. So we need to do that. So I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes.
I think we just need to let people know. It's like the way we advertise new products. The way Indomie became a hit in the country. It's through advertisement. The company started advertising it, people started buying it, and then word of mouth, and then it turned into a business, and people realized that you can make money out of it, and then it started spring rolling it. So the more we talk about it, whether in season or out of season, I'm using a biblical term. When I say in season or out of season, like in season, like the way right now everybody is talking about it because of a high profile case. I don't know if I can say it's a high profile, but because of a case that is popular now. But there will be times where we'll not hear about it from the media, but we still need to talk about it. We still need to talk about security. You get me? Yeah. So I think talking about it and pushing our MPs and things like that to come up with laws that can provide safety for the citizens, putting pressure on the president and things like that. There are various ways of going about it. We can do demonstration, a proper demonstration, not the ones that are politically motivated, but this one, it should be citizen motivated. The only time we can go on, some of these media houses, there are some who speak in local dialects, get them to talk about the issues, because that's how you can also reach the rural areas, because they also listen to radio. Radio is a big thing in the rural areas. I remember I had a friend, I called her whilst I was speaking to her. I was hearing some announcement. I said, was she listening to a radio? She said, no, they have a community center where they give announcements. So in an area, they have a loudspeaker.
Yeah, the public address system.
Yes. We can do something like that. So when somebody gets missing in the community, we use the public service announcement that this person was missing at this time, at this place. If you have any information, provide it. So we can, as citizens, create our own, initiative. I don't believe that we always have to wait on government. Government is always slow to react. Oh, it's always slow
Well,
to react.
this is an issue that if we say we're going to actually discuss, we will end up spending the whole year talking and we will still not have arrived, because it's an issue which is laden under various layers of societal challenges that need to be addressed. No matter how much you look at it, it looks like as citizens, we need to prioritize our security and our safety
Yes.
first and foremost before we even rely on government. I know our
Yeah.
laws are different. I know our system is different from the Western cultures and from most of the nations around us. But I believe even within the parameters of our laws, there are ways that we can organize ourselves and we can mobilize ourselves and create that awareness and that sensitization amongst the citizenry, such that we care for each other first of all, and then we go out of our way to make sure that everyone is safe and everyone is secure in wherever they are doing. That people traveling, they are arriving safely, and then they are getting to their loved ones safely.
I think if you think about it, this way, like I said, it could be you, it could be your loved one.
Of course.
So if you're not going to take it serious now, God forbid it happens to you. So assuming we have this conversation, we put into a plan, action, all the things we've talked about. We have this community centers, we have this task force, there are laws in place. When it happens to you, the chances of finding your loved one is greater.
Yes, of course. When the systems are in place, it helps you.
Yeah. So you have to have a personal interest in the issue. Don't say, oh, it's not my loved one and things like that.
Well, all too soon we would have to be rounding up our discussion. It's been a very engaging and a very interesting, involving conversation. I think Nene has brought his A game tonight, so we've got to hear a lot of information that I feel for those of us watching or listening, if we can even take it up and build upon it. I know usually when some of these things come up, it's either clouded by politics or people end up making speculations and saying a lot of things about it. But I believe the entire point of this session is to, first of all, create that awareness that we should start thinking about our personal security. We should start looking for that community spirit that we seem to have lost as a nation. We should start looking into ways that we can protect each other and that we can live together as a community in a safe environment. And I believe that is what we need to be looking into as a nation. Now, the drive is to get citizens to look out for themselves. Nene's post created this entire conversation, but then the mandate and everything that it's talking about is that as citizens, we need to take the first step. Now, since this is a Christian themed podcast, I'll also throw the challenge to the church, because obviously Ghana, even if we are not a Christian nation, we are a religious nation. And if the churches who drive the masses of people, the churches have the numbers in terms of population size and all that. Most of our church institutions have over thousands of members. If the church is to take the forefront of this battle, then there's a higher chance of victory, because at the end of the day, it can be better coordinated. It can be better, awareness can be created in a better way. People who are not even tech savvy or social media reliant can still get the information, the sensitization, and they can still get involved. And most of these bridges we are trying to create, the church already has them. So all the church needs to do is now decide that we want to help solve this problem. We want to help curtail this issue where every week, every week, someone is getting missing and we don't know where they are and all that. I think the church can play that front role of creating that awareness, of creating that sensitization about personal security, about caring for your neighbor. it's good to preach about it. That is the mandate Christ has given us. But then you have to also break down that sermon into how it works for the society. So you've told them, love your neighbor. Now you need to put the practical steps of how they can carry it out, because if they don't know that not caring about the fact that your neighbor's daughter is missing is not showing love, then they will not do it, and they still think they are loving their neighbor. So I believe the challenge is also being thrown to the church. If you've enjoyed this conversation so far, please do well to subscribe to this channel, to the podcast. If you are following the podcast, please do well to share with your friends. Leave us your comments so that we will know what your thoughts are on everything that has been discussed. We would love to hear from you. So like this video, share it first of all, leave a comment for us, and then more importantly, to subscribe. It's very free. Subscribe, whether it's the podcast, whether it's the YouTube video, subscribe, so that we can get more content and share them with more people, so that this awareness that we're trying to create even across board, more people get to access this video. The more you share, the more people get to hear, the more people get to engage in this conversation, and the more they get to be sensitized. That has been the purpose of this video. It's not just for any reason. It's just to create that sensitization, and then to hopefully encourage a return to that community spirit. I'm personally looking forward to the day that we can have Christmas the way we used to have it when I was a kid again, where the entire community was involved in the celebration, where being in school, doing all those cutouts and hanging them in the classroom, and everyone is excited. I want to see that thing come back, because as a nation, we seem to have lost our soul. Now, this is a call to arms. This is a call to rise up and then take the battle head on. Thank you for watching up to this point, for engaging with us this far. We'll be coming with more videos for you, so do well to subscribe and press the notification button, the notification button, sorry, so that when these new videos drop, you'll be the first to be aware, and then you get to take part in. Once again, I'm Agostino. Tonight I was joined by Nene. Nene, thank you very much for a great session tonight. You've been an awesome guest, and I think most of what you've said, if people are going to pick it up and we're going to run with it, we're going to see very good results. Also maybe throwing that challenge to you that maybe you can spearhead some of these initiatives. You don't need to wait for the money. We can start. People can come on board, and we can run with it. It starts with an idea
right.
anyway.
Yeah,
So
right. I think one of the things, just to chip in, that we should be a nation that likes to discuss ideas and concepts. That's how we'll go. So if we have a lot of people also coming up with ideas, then we can work together and see. But you're right. We'll see how you can do something.
I'll put you on the spot, but that was just by the way. So
a lot of times I feel guilty about saying these ideas and not being able to implement them.
Oh, if we are to delve into that, that will have to be another video, because I have my own stories to share on that front. The ideas are plenty, but getting it done. So it's a challenge to all of us to take up these issues that are of societal and national concern, and make sure that we are doing our bit in our small way to help make the situation better. Thank you for an awesome interaction. I know that definitely you might be back on another conversation, but for tonight, you've been an awesome guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so once again, if you've not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, share, comment. Let us hear your thoughts. If you disagree with Nene, if you agree with Nene, share your thoughts so that we can know and then we can engage you further. Okay, so the name is Agostino. This has been Conversations with Kito on It's Okay podcast by Kodi-Kodi-Sio. I hope you enjoyed everything. May God continue to be with you. May He continue to cause His grace to shine upon you, and may He grant you His peace.